Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Chippis, and I'm with the Capital Crossroads and Discovery Special Improvement Districts in downtown Columbus. Welcome to today's training on situational awareness, being presented by Mark Proud with Blueline Training Solutions and sponsored by Barnes & Thornburg. It's been a year since many employees have been back to downtown Columbus, and we thought it would be a great idea to provide some tips and ideas on how to deal with panhandling and other aggressive behaviors. And now I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's training, Barnes & Thornburg. Bill Nolan, managing partner with Barnes & Thornburg, and one of the SID's biggest supporters, would like to say a few words. Bill?
Thanks, Michelle. And Barnes & Thornburg is happy to be part of this important project, getting people back downtown. I've worked downtown for almost 32 years now. And when Barnes & Thornburg opened in Columbus in 2009, we started downtown. It's a great place for lawyers to be, close to the courthouses, the government offices, but just the combination of history and diversity and energy that you have downtown, there's nothing else quite like it. So we've definitely missed it and are gradually getting back downtown and are very excited to get back downtown and see the energy back to what it was, and look forward to seeing you all there.
Thanks, Bill. And now I'd like to introduce today's speaker and another sponsor of today's training, Mark Proud, President of Blueline Training Solutions. Mark?
Great. Very good. Thank you, Michelle. Again, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. This is really kind of new for me. I'm not much of as an instructor, I'm not much one to be talking at people. So this platform kind of doesn't allow that interaction that I really like, but we will be able to take those questions at the end. There should be a chat button for you. And Michelle and I had talked earlier, and at the end, Michelle is going to read the questions out for me. Michelle, I think we forgot to discuss that again, but hopefully she'll be reading the questions out at the end of the presentation, and we'll get to all your questions at the end. So that being said, just a little bit more about me so you know who is talking to you here today. I am retired law enforcement, 26 years experience in law enforcement. I do currently hold a badge with a small local police agency where I do training for them. And that's all I do for them. I don't have a police uniform. I don't drive a police car. I don't do any police work except for training their officers, which is really a cool gig. I have been instructing for a little over 18 years. And basically in the use of force. I've been training mostly corporate and private security and law enforcement. And over the years, the use of force topics that I train are, use of firearms, self-defense, response to active shooter, de-escalation, to name a few things that we're involved in. And the thing is, there is a common thread through all aspects of that training, and it is de-escalation, de-escalation and situational awareness. Situational awareness is a big part of all of those aspects of self-protection. And obviously that's what we're here today to talk about. The thing is, I think most people know the phrase situational awareness, and we talk about it and we mention it, but do we really think about, what exactly is that, be aware? So we want to break that down today. Now, if you go to Wikipedia, you have this amazing definition. It is the perception of environmental elements and events with respect to time or space, the comprehension of their meaning, and the projection of their future status. Now, that's a fantastic definition, and as comprehensive as it is, we're going to try and break that down a little bit, a little more digestible, so that we get a feeling about what situational awareness is. So again, specifically, what is it? What are we being aware of, and why? Why are we being aware of it? I think those are the two key questions that we need to ask ourselves about situational awareness. I want to address the why do we need to be aware. I think that's the easiest thing to address. And I like to look at 3 key points as far as why we need to be aware. The first one is we know bad things happen. Unfortunately, they do. The fact that you are all here today, obviously tells me that you guys are aware of this and that we want to be prepared. We want to be able to do something about these bad things that happen. And that's great. everybody knows bad things happen. We get bombarded in the media day in and day out about incidents that take place. But there is a certain percentage of people that kind of live in denial about these things happening to them, right? It's that whole, well, that's never going to happen to me. I don't care how often you're standing around at work, you're at the water cooler, and you hear this conversation, or you're part of the conversation of, wow, did you hear this horrible thing that happened? And usually somebody's like, yeah, I can't believe, or I can't imagine that took place. And that comment right there, that I can't believe or I can't imagine it, is what we have to change. Unfortunately, that mindset, that comment should really be, yeah, I can imagine that happening, and I have prepared myself in case it does. That's where we need to be. So recognizing that bad things happen is very important, and being prepared to deal with them. Second thing that I think is important is that we don't want to merely react to an incident. This bad thing that takes place, if the incident has happened, if you're reacting to it, then it's happened. You're a part of it, and all you're doing is reacting to it. It's important to be able to react appropriately, but we want to do better than that. We want to get to the point where we can avoid the incident altogether. And that's really what being aware, situationally aware, being aware of your surroundings is all about. So if we take a look at a simple illustration of, if you think of the incident on a timeline, okay, before the incident, you have these indicators. These are going to be signs that indicate to you that an incident may happen. You have the incident that takes place, right? So you're involved. Like I said, we're already part of the incident with no time to plan. And all you can do is react. This is where your response is. And this is where most people hang out, in this reaction zone, this response, right? And hopefully you've done something so that you are physically and mentally prepared to act appropriately. And like I said, this is where a lot of people hang out, and this is good. We do need this, but this isn't the only place we need to be. I think of incidents that have happened over the past few years. I think about Michelle and I talked about it the other day. I think a few years ago there was like a bunch of purse snatchings down in German Village, and everybody was aware and everybody was doing something to react to that. I remember probably 10, 12 years ago when I was with Hilliard PD, I think the media labeled the guy the Northwest rapist. What was going on, and at that point in time, women, everybody was wanting women's self-defense courses, and that's when the PD started their women's self-defense program, which I was a part of. And I mean, we couldn't fill those classes fast enough. So that's great, that's good, being able to react. But if all you're doing is training those things, you're only training to react, which in reality, we want to be in this green area where the indicators is. This is where we want to live. If I hit the right button here, this is where we want to be. Situational awareness takes place here, where these indicators are. This is where we're going to notice the signs that indicate something is going to happen. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a simple concept, but this is where we want to be. Before the incident takes place, we want to recognize that it's going to happen, and so that we can avoid it. Or at least make plans to deal with it if we have to be involved with it at the time. How do we do this? How are we aware of these signs that are going to indicate something's going to happen? The only way we can be is if we are scanning and being aware of our surroundings. But let's face it, there are some obstacles to being aware of what's going on around us, right? We have to be aware of these obstacles, and we have to avoid these obstacles. And what is the number one obstacle that you think that is out there that is preventing us from being aware of our surroundings, especially while we're out and about on foot? Obviously, the number one thing is our phones. I don't think it's any secret that, they are so much a part of our lives right now. We are so plugged into our phones all the time. We have got to realize we've got to put the phones away on occasion. They've got to be put in the pocket, and we've got to be more aware of what's going on around us. As far as I'm concerned, the phone, we need to treat walking around day to day no different than if we're out driving. I am pretty certain that probably most everybody here drives, or at least has driven at some point in time. And you guys all, if you're driving a car, are practicing situational awareness every time you get in the car. I mean, you guys are probably very good at it. because being in a car, you know that there is a really good potential for damage, for an accident to happen and injury to take place. So there is a danger. There's an awareness. You're driving this vehicle around, and when accidents happen, bad things happen. So we're very much more aware. We should be no different than we're out walking around or riding our bikes, right? If you can put the phone down, which hopefully you are when you're in your car, if you can do it in your car, you can do it when you're taking the 5, 10, 15-minute walk from the office to the garage, down the street to your favorite coffee shop, when you're taking a break for lunch, wherever you happen to be, put the phone away and be aware. That's the number one obstacle, I think, that's out there. Earbuds, headphones. We've got all of our runners and joggers out there, and everybody's got earbuds and headphones on, hitting the running trails out there. Guys, situational awareness is just not about visual observation. Okay, we want to be aware with as many senses as we can. So, with the earbuds in and the headphones on, I cringe whenever I see people running around town with earbuds. I can't. There's no possible way that could I walk downtown and have earphones and music in my ears without being able to hear people and traffic. Is there an argument? Is somebody yelling? Is somebody warning me of something? I can't even hear if people are actually trying to help me because I've got my music going on in my ears. I get it. I understand that we like to have our motivation and to take our mind off of the actual exercise that we're doing. But, what are we giving up, for that motivation? We're giving up awareness. If you've got earbuds on, you're not aware of what's going on around you. Keep that in mind. Clothing seems kind of a weird thing, but yeah, for me, the biggest thing is rain jackets with hoods. I hate wearing hats. I don't like carrying an umbrella because I don't like to have things in my hands. So if there's inclement weather, I wear a jacket with a hood if it's raining. And again, no different than if I have earbuds on, if I'm downtown, if I've got my hood up because it's raining, I feel very unsecure because my peripheral vision is blocked. I have to constantly move my entire body to scan and look around. So, cold, inclement weather, we've got scarves and hats and hoods, really influences whether we can be very much aware of what's going on around us. Need to be aware of that. And our companions, people who are traveling with us, can really take our attention away from, being aware of what's going on around us. Now, listen, I'm not saying we can't laugh and joke and be with our friends and family while we're walking down the street or, across the parking lot, heading to lunch together with a group. Obviously you can. And if you practice these, if you will, techniques, scanning your surrounding, if you do this on a regular basis, it isn't a hassle. It doesn't take any of your time. It doesn't hinder anything else. It becomes second nature for you to be aware of what's going on and to be looking and scanning. And it doesn't take away from you. So I can still enjoy being with my friends and family and laughing and joking. We don't have to be robots. Everyone quiet. I'm scanning, looking for danger, right? That we don't have to be that person. If we make it part of our daily life, it just becomes second nature. And of course, our daily concerns. Not only these external things that can affect us, but geez, if we're adults, we've got lots of concerns and responsibilities in the day-to-day life, home and work and school. If we're constantly hashing this out in our head, it's difficult to be aware of what's going on externally around us. So be aware of that. Be aware of that. When we talk about scanning, I think there's a couple ways to address it. I like to start out scanning near, something around your immediately around you, scanning near. And listen, you could look at all kinds of different distances. What is immediately around you, depending on where you're at, what your situation is. Is immediately around you arm's length, or is it 10, 15, 20 feet from you? What is immediately around you? Wherever you happen to be, that's what's going to dictate what's immediate to you. But you obviously want to check what's closest to you because that's going to be your most immediate threat. And we're going to be looking for people, obviously, that are close to us. We're going to be watching body language. We'll talk about that a little bit here. The tone and temper of people. Are you in a crowd? Is the crowd rowdy? Are they upset? Are they angry? Are they joyous? Are the people around you, are the people arguing? Is everybody in a good mood? But watching body language and human nature is a huge part of being aware so that you can read the atmosphere around you. So keeping an eye on people. Obstacles and escape routes. This probably isn't something that you normally think about when you talk about being aware, But obstacles, we talked about obstacles that hinder us from being aware, but I'm talking about obstacles that you should be aware of in case you need to maneuver quickly to get out of a hazardous area. So if I'm walking down the street and I know that there's a possibility something is going to happen on this end, if I need to move quickly and get out of there, am I running into traffic? Are there barriers? Are there obstacles? Is there a fence? Is there a building in the way? Did I walk into a parking garage and I got into a corner and there's only one way in and one way out? Can I remove myself quickly if I have to? That goes to our escape routes. Can I make a quick getaway if I have to? That's very important. And again, this seems like a lot of stuff to be thinking about. But like I said, if you practice it day in and day out, it just becomes second nature to you, recognizing. It's no different than going to a restaurant or a movie theater and, observing and noticing where the exits are for those buildings, so that if something bad happens, because we know bad things happen, can I get out of there quickly? Where's my quickest escape route? It's things that we should be aware of. I also apply this to driving too. Escape routes for driving is huge. If you're at an intersection, you're stopped at a red light or a traffic sign, a stop sign, do we need to be right up on the rear bumper of the car in front of us because we're in such a hurry to get going once the light turns green? You want to leave yourself some room between the vehicles to maneuver your vehicle if you have to move your vehicle out of there quickly. Say you're in traffic, you're in a curb lane and there's cars on the other side of you, and you left room, but you can't get around the car anyways. Are you familiar with your vehicle? Do you know its capabilities? Would you be able to roll up over the curb if you had to and cut a corner if you necessarily had to get your vehicle out of harm's way? Guys, being trapped in your vehicle in a bad situation is bad. That your vehicle is a dangerous place to be inside of. So if you can move your vehicle, very important. Know the capabilities of your vehicle. And what it can or cannot do. Are there traffic signs in the way? Are there parking meters in the way where you can't even get up on the over the curb? Things to consider. Again, it seems like a lot and maybe overkill, but it gets you in the right mindset of being aware of what's going on around you. Direction of travel and your location. This is huge, guys, not just for your own personal movement, but knowing where you are and what direction you're traveling is very important if you need help to get to you. So being aware of street signs, direction of travel, especially in a neighborhood that you're not familiar with, maybe you're traveling, and you need to be aware of street signs. A lot of people don't know their directions, north, south, east, west, right? Know some landmarks, so that if you're on 911 directing somebody to come to you because you need help, you need to be able to let them know where you are. 270 is a great example. 270 is a circle, right? Are you heading north, east, south, or west on 270? Are you familiar with mile markers that you can use? What was the last exit that you just passed? Is there a landmark? If you're on Broad Street and you're broke down and you need help for whatever reason, and dispatch is asking, where are you? Well, I'm on Broad Street. I'm on East Broad Street. Okay, what direction are you traveling? Where are you at? Well, I don't know. Well, where are you facing? I'm facing downtown. Okay, well, what's behind you? Bexley. Okay, I know you're traveling west on Broad Street, right? Know some landmarks, know where you're at so that help can get to you that much more quickly. Obviously, we can scan near, we can scan far, right? The next corner, end of the hallway, across the parking lot or garage. I am a big fan of scanning far and wide. I'll check immediately around me, make sure everything is fine, but then I want to know what's further on down the road. Guys, the further off we can see signs that indicate something is happening, the better we are, the more time we have to react. Actually, not even react. If it's far enough ahead and I recognize it, I'm no longer reacting, I'm planning, right? I can plan to avoid it, or if I know I have to be involved in it, I can plan for how I'm going to respond when I get there, if that makes sense. So scanning far, I'm a big fan of. My wife and I walk downtown quite a bit. I live in Old Town East, and we'll walk down to the river. We walk to the short north from here. We walk all over downtown. And right now in the afternoon, there's usually not a lot of people out and about. So I don't have a lot of threat from nearby, but I'm always scanning far off in the distance to see what is going on ahead of me And then I can determine my route. If there's something that I see that makes me uncomfortable, we'll go another way, and we don't even have to deal with it. So avoiding situations. So we talked about why we want to be aware. Let's talk about what are we being aware of. Some simple concepts here as far as what. A lot of times we're aware of known potential hazards, right? Whether it's a mass gathering, we know that happens. Obviously, we've had protests and marches go on, and that blocks traffic. So being aware of things like that allows us to plan appropriately for future movement of where we're traveling throughout the day. Maybe there's a huge block party like what happened a couple of weeks ago over on campus, and they rolled 7 cars during that gathering. Maybe it's a race for the cure or a marathon, streets are blocked, right? Being aware of those and not just going, oh yeah, it's happening, but putting it away in your memory so that you can access that later on to plan appropriately is huge. And knowing what the gathering is for can also dictate. Maybe you're going to be a part of the gathering. Maybe you don't want to be a part of the gathering because you know what it's about. Being aware of that and planning appropriately. Road construction and barricades, roads blocked off. Do you know alternate routes? Similar to knowing your location and where you're going. Guys, whether it's construction on sidewalks that happen all over downtown where it's in the way of your, the path to your favorite coffee shop, and now you know that you can't go that way, you're going to have to cross the street, and maybe it puts you, you have to walk past something that you're not comfortable with, maybe you need to change routes. Do you know alternate routes? Can you, last week, I was coming down Riverside to coming down Long Street into town. And all of a sudden I saw up on High Street, huge crowd of people, signs and banners and flags marching. I had no idea what was going on. I wasn't aware of it. I knew traffic was backed up. I just pulled down a side street. I didn't know what it was. I didn't want to be in the middle of it, and, found an alternate route to go the way that I needed to go. It always shocked me and surprised me, never failed, when I was a police officer and say we had to shut a road down because of a bad accident. Inevitably somebody would pull up, officer, I live right over on the other side there. Can I get home? I'm like, well, sorry, no, the road's closed. You can't go this way. And they would look at me and be like, well, how do I get home? They know one path. They go to work and they come home, and they do that all day, and they've never ventured out anywhere else, which is very surprisingly. In their own neighborhood, they were completely confused and baffled as how to get from A to B if it wasn't the one route that they knew. Know the areas that you're going to frequent. Be familiar. Know some alternate routes in case you need to get out of there. Obviously, active crime scenes. We got a lot of people that just want to be nosy and watch. Please, let's not be part of that crowd. Let's not create that issue. We can avoid that stuff. And knowing local crime trends. I talked about the Northwest rapist, the purse snatching. Guys, if you know that the parking garage that you use has had a couple muggings in it, you're going to need to take some precautions. If they have announced suspect information, descriptions of suspects, descriptions of suspect vehicles, again, don't just go, okay, yeah, great. Catalog that and be aware of it when you're out and about so that you can use that known intelligence, that known information, put it to use to keep yourself safe. And of course, other reported incidents that we might be made aware of. So those are known potential hazards. What else are we looking at? We're looking at perceived anomalies. What do I mean by perceived anomalies? People are things that seem out of place or out of the ordinary, not appropriate for the conditions. Perceived anomalies, listen, personal protection, which is basically what we're talking about, keeping yourself safe, is just that. It's very personal. So things that are out of place or out of the ordinary or don't seem appropriate for the actual conditions is going to vary from person to person. Each person is going to have their own personal standard as far as what they consider out of place or suspicious. And listen, nobody can tell you what that should be. That's going to be completely up to you. That's very personal, right? If this makes me uncomfortable, it makes me uncomfortable. Whether you don't think it should or whether it doesn't make you uncomfortable, it makes me uncomfortable. So it's anomalies that I perceive, and I want to react to those, right? I want to react accordingly. Guys, if you are out and about, if you're especially downtown, we talked about known hazard. The SID is phenomenal about putting information out, what's going on downtown. Recognize the services that are available to you. If you are suspicious about something, it's late and you got off work late and you're not comfortable going out to your car, the SID is there. You can call them. They can escort you to your vehicle. If you see something unusual or suspicious, maybe you don't think it rises to the level of law enforcement, you know what, give the SID a call. Those guys will come out. They're very highly trained. I know for certain that they are. I trained them. Anyways, they will show up. They can determine, you know, okay, is it law enforcement or is it something they can handle? Don't be afraid to call these people. And again, don't be afraid to call the police too. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you think it's silly or maybe it's nothing or I don't want to bother. I can't tell you how many times I was told as a police officer, we didn't want to bother you, so we didn't call you. That's what they're there for, right? And we'll make sure that you guys have the number to the SID here at the end of the program. So let's get right to this. If you are approached, right, unsolicited requests, Michelle mentioned panhandling out there, and we saw can't say that. We've seen times where it's become a little aggressive here and there, and occasionally they can be. For the most part, they're not too bad. But unsolicited requests, you know, we've probably all been a part of it. You know, do you got a few bucks? Can I get a ride? Money for gas or a bus pass? It happens out there. We have a lot of that. So how do we use situational awareness in dealing with people approaching us? I already talked about, I like scanning far to possibly avoid it, but if not, it happens. But not looking like a target is also very important, right? Not looking like a victim or a target or somebody that is going to be an easy pushover. So we want to be able to make sure when we are aware, when we're walking upright and our head is up and we're scanning and we're walking with a purpose and we're making eye contact with people, those types of people aren't necessarily look like they're targets, right? And people will sometimes avoid that. Either way, it doesn't matter if they do or don't, but just be aware that I like the scanning far to avoid this if this is something that you don't want to do. Listen, if you're the type of person that wants to give, by all means, absolutely not a problem, right? If you feel obligated to give to strangers, whichever, if you want to give them money or a money for gas, I wouldn't suggest giving anybody a ride. That is a dangerous situation, can be a dangerous situation. By all means, feel free. Just realize you very much have to be aware of what's going on, because sometimes it can be a ploy for more nefarious reasons. People wanting to get close to you. We're used to people coming up to us asking us, you know, for money or things like that. So that's very common for us. So it's an easy in for somebody to get close to you and start a conversation and dialogue with you. So we have to be aware of that. For me, when dealing with unsolicited requests, I think one of the best ways to deal with it is to have a rehearsed response, because you know, it can be, we want to be friendly, we want to be helpful, we don't want to feel like a bad person because we didn't give to somebody. First of all, you know, I give to homeless shelters, I support, you know, food banks. I do that on my own terms, right? I don't have to feel guilty about not giving somebody $1 on the street. And I also, we have to get past, you know, feeling bad or that we hurt somebody's feelings. When it comes to your personal safety, if somebody thinks I'm a jerk or I hurt somebody's feelings, quite honestly, that doesn't matter at that point in time when it comes to our personal safety. We've got to get past that. We have to get past, you know, being afraid to appear rude. I'm not saying treat people poorly, right? But it's innate in most of us because we're good people and we don't want to seem rude or uncaring. But we've got to get past that. So a rehearsed response for people, I think, is huge. For me, my example is this, especially for scanning far, just happened a few weeks ago. It's happened a couple of times to me. Gas stations are always a good place where people are approaching people because they're stationary. They're at their gas pump. It's not like they're going to walk away from you. So they approach you, right? Because they know you can't go anywhere. When I'm pumping gas, I'm not, holding onto the thing, staring at the gas pump. It's not a phone break time. I am scanning. I step back from the car. I lock the gas thing if you can to let it pump. I step back and I scan the parking lot. I watch cars coming and going. I watch who's coming and going in and out of the building. And of course, you'll see that individual who's going from pump to pump asking people for something. And I saw him coming just a couple of weeks ago, and I knew he was coming my way. And I don't think he got within 20 feet of me where I made eye contact with him, and he realized I knew that he was coming towards me. And it wasn't like he was just going to continue coming at me without saying something. He was going to acknowledge and start to say something. But before he even does, I'm just like, sorry, not today, buddy. And that's it. Right. So I catch him at a distance. He doesn't even get within my safety zone, my imaginary line that I don't want people to cross, getting into my comfort space. I caught him ahead of time because I saw him. I give him my not today, sorry, buddy, and he was on his way. And that has for the 99% of the time worked for me. And I think it has a little bit of a psychological thing. I like the not today because for me, I think it presents a little bit of hope. It's like, oh, not today. Well, maybe tomorrow if I ask him, he'll have something for me. So it's a little bit softer way of telling people that you're not interested in doing that. So sorry, not today. And if you feel like you have to give an excuse for whatever reason, that's fine. I've even gone as far as, sorry, not today, buddy. I don't have any cash on me. Right? Who carries cash anymore anyways? So very seldom do we. So a rehearsed response, I think, is a great way to deal with unsolicited requests. Potential predators. This is important. We could obviously spend a whole day on this type of stuff, but things that we need to look at. There is a great trainer and author by the name of John Geidick. Does a lot of stuff with active shooter response. He talks about sharks in nature do something called bumping. And is what sharks will do. They see something floating in the water, they will come up to it and they will bump it. And they're looking for a response or a taste or a smell, not quite a taste, but a smell to determine if it's worth biting or eating. So they do this bump. And human predators will do the same thing. They will bump us, meaning they will do something to solicit a response from you to see what type of response you're giving. So a lot of times it can be the compliment, right? You're in the hallway, you're at work, whatever, getting on the elevator, somebody gets in, oh, wow, you have really beautiful long hair, right? That compliment, oh, that's a really nice skirt you're wearing today. And they are looking for your response. If you're the type of the person that is not comfortable with that, right? And you look at your feet and you kind of pull yourself in and, give them the, oh, thanks, type of response, that might indicate to our predator that you're shy, maybe not a lot of confidence, and you might be an easier target, right? Versus, somebody who acknowledges it and, is like, oh, thanks, and looks them straight in the eye, very confident, very assertive, or, well, everybody's got their own opinion, right? Something flippant, whatever, then that sends a different message versus pulling inside and looking down at your feet. That's that bump. And human predators will do that. It could be the compliment. It could be, the asking for the money at the gas station. Hey, what time? Do you have the time? What time is it? Waiting for you to do some type of movement that distracts you from their assault. Can I use your phone? Think about this at home. We've seen incidents where people allegedly break down in neighborhoods and they'll knock on doors. Hey, can I use your phone? Right? Be aware of that. You don't have to open up your door. You don't have to let people in. You can tell them through the door or the window, if you need help, I've got 911. I've called the police. They're on their way. If they actually needed help, they're going to stick around. If they didn't, they'll be out of there soon. So a couple things to think about as far as predatory activity. Also, we don't want to be giving out personal information about ourselves, no matter how little it seems. You get that guy walking in the office building where you are, hey, do you work here too? I work here. Nope, I'm just here for a meeting. Or into an apartment complex. Oh, you live here? Nope, just visiting, right? Any little thing like that. And again, obviously compliments and, hey, you work here, you live here, that can be idle chatter, just chit chat. We get that. But I think as adults who have been dealing with human beings for quite some time now, we understand appropriate times and places for these type of comments, right? So we need to be aware of that. We don't want to give any personal information about ourselves. even as far as the cute little stickers on the back of your window of your vehicle that shows all of your family members and what age your children are and what school they go to and what sports they play. All that is information for predators, and really as cute and funny as they may be, it's probably something that we don't want on the back of our vehicles. It's just information out there for predators to use. So something to consider there. Since we're talking about the predator and people approaching us, I talked about scanning. If somebody has already approached us, then we are in the event. It's happening, right? We didn't see it ahead of time. We weren't able to avoid it. They're there, they've approached us. And for whatever reason it may be, we're involved with it. Now, it's very close near scanning because I'm going to be scanning the individual to see what kind of indicators he's giving to me, what is his motivation for being with me. In the defensive world, we talk about pre-threat indicators that people exhibit before an assault or some sort of violent activity. We could list dozens of them. I just put a few up here, a couple things to think about that you watch people. This nervous energy, the pacing back and forth, the clenching of fists. If they're all wound up, you'll see people clench their teeth and grimace, obviously excited. Maybe they're yelling, maybe they're cursing. This posturing where they want to appear threatening. All this stuff that we recognize as a pre-threat indicator, something that people do that indicates they might become violent. The two on here that I'm a big fan of being aware of is this looking around and the grooming actions that people take. Looking around, people will do this. They get anxious and they start looking around before they do something. That can mean a couple of different things. They're looking around because they're checking for witnesses, because they don't want people to see the bad thing that they're about to do. They may be looking for a partner to let them know, hey, this is going to happen. I need you to either watch out for me or we're going to attack this person. So people will look around. They also will do it just subconsciously for some reason, whether they care about witnesses or not. People will inevitably take this glance around before they do something. Grooming is another huge one that I pay a lot of attention to. And it's this type of, I'm rubbing my beard. We've got we itch that scratch on my earlobe that doesn't even itch. The experts claim the higher up on a face a person touches, the more stress and anxiety they're under. So if you get a combination of this nervous energy and people looking around, and as soon as you start to get this type of activity, something is most likely going to happen. So especially you putting some of these indicators together. Now realize this, you can be looking for this stuff not just on somebody who is approaching you, but maybe you can see this type of activity being used against somebody else. You're walking down the street, down the sidewalk, you hear some people arguing, you look over, maybe it's a lover spat, maybe they're arguing about whose team is the best. Who knows what the argument might be, but you caught up on it because you are aware, you picked up on it. You see it, and then you watch that body language, and you'll start to see people as they start to heighten. You can pick out these threat indicators, and this might be a time to say, okay, we don't need to be in this area. Let's go another way, because we don't want to be around whatever's going to happen here, because we know that these things can blow up and get pretty bad. So scanning, being aware, the threat indicator. So near and far, this is the only way we're going to be able to avoid this stuff. And if we're in the middle of it, then we need to be prepared to act. So that pretty much covers everything except for one thing. I do have homework for everybody here today. I told Michelle about my homework the other day, and we both agree it is a little creepy, but bear with me. So when you leave here, when you leave work today, go home tomorrow, next week, you're out and about, you're out on the streets, you're at the store, you're at the mall, wherever you happen to be. There's something that I want you to do while you're out and about. And I made it not as creepy, Michelle. Try looking at your surroundings from the vantage point of a predator. So yes, I'm going to say the creepy part. I want you to act as the predator when you're out and about. When you look at your surroundings from the vantage point of a predator, you will soon start to see how vulnerable people look. Right? And you'll see the actions that they're taking that told you, hey, that person would make a good victim. That person is a good target. If I were a predator, which person would I choose to take advantage of? And you will soon see how many people out there are completely unaware of what's going on around them. And let's face it, watching people make mistakes is a good way for us to learn what not to do. So give it a chance. Like I said, I know it seems a little odd, but when you're out and about, it's going to force you to be looking around. It's going to force you to be scanning and being aware of what's going on, especially if you're looking for somebody who looks like a victim. Identify it, figure out why you thought that they looked like they were an easy target, right? You'll learn from it. So I will leave you with your creepy homework assignment for those of you who are willing to take part.
Thanks, Mark. And thanks to all of you for participating in today's training. Please remember, if you have any concerns or situations when you're out and about in downtown Columbus, please don't hesitate to contact the SID hotline. Our number is 614-228-5718. Thank you.